Rev up your engines!
Roger 1985 says, what's your take on nitrogen in tires? Well, basically a complete waste of your money if you put nitrogen in your tires, unless you're a race car driver or you got an airplane. Understand one thing, something like 80% of the air we're now breathing in is nitrogen, right? So all you're doing is getting rid of 20% of the rest and putting nitrogen in. Now, nitrogen is an inert gas, so it won't rust the inside of your wheels. Most people have aluminum or magnesium wheels, all kinds of different wheels, even the steel ones, they don't really rust out. Anyways, not in the time you use them, 20, 30 years, you know, they're still holding air, right? They don't have the big temperature change. It's not that big of a deal, right? And the thing is, they do put them in airplanes, right? But the airplanes are way up in the air. You know what it's like when you're like 40,000 feet in the air? It's like minus 27 degrees or minus 50 degrees. It's real cold. So you don't want them expanding and contracting from the temperature, which nitrogen doesn't. And race cars, they're going 200 miles an hour. They get real hot. The pressure will change a lot. It won't change as much with nitrogen, right? But for normal driving, it's a complete waste of your money. I mean, come on now. It's a joke for most people. Michael Godchun says, I'm thinking about a 2013 Jetta TDI. I do a lot of commuting. My job's 100 kilometers away. It's a 200-kilometer round trip. So what, 120 miles or something? What are your thoughts on a used Volkswagen TDI? Should I look at a Civic or Corolla instead? The Volkswagens do get phenomenal gas mileage. The diesels, they're pretty well made. But they are Volkswagens. They're not going to last as long with less repair. When a diesel does break, a Volkswagen diesel, you better start throwing $100 bills out fast. They're very expensive to repair. Now, they do last quite some time, you know? If you really look at modern engine technology, the gasoline engines nowadays are getting pretty close gas mileage to what the diesels were getting. I remember I had a meeting with the vice president of Shell Oil, and he was the head of their petroleum, grease, and oil division, and he said to me, he said, oh, Scotty, he said, you Americans are right, that you were smart to go for gasoline, because we went diesel in Europe, and now we're giving up with them, and the gasoline engines are proving to be better. Me, I get a Corolla, drive it forever, you know? Volkswagen, endless money pits, the parts cost a fortune. Corollas, they made like 50 million of them. There's parts all over the place. Aftermarket parts, cheap. And you're going to get a better deal on a Corolla because the kids like Civics, so the resale value is too much. You're talking about used, so where there's millions of Corollas and you get them a lot cheaper than you're going to get a Civic because the kids want to soup up the Civics, make little race cars out of them. Cat perhaps says, I have a friend who's attempting to daily drive a 1986 Subaru GL. They're buying it because they want a fast Japanese-style car that they can drive around. So 1.8 later, 100,000 miles, but I'm saying, hey, it's old. Should they do this with a 1986 car? I would say no, not as a daily driver. The thing's old as the hills. The old Subarus had head gasket problems. They're probably going to have to rebuild the engine. Oh, the rubber's going to be rotten and stuff. Now, if he wants a project car to have some fun and play with, yeah, they were simpler in 86, easier to work on. They want to spend time fixing it up. Why not, you know? But as a daily driver, that's a big mistake. Over the years, I've had customers buy really old cars like that for daily drivers, and almost every single one of them were kicking themselves in the rear end saying, look, I keep throwing money into this, it doesn't work all that well. And like in the case of when I was in Houston, they always wanted the air conditioning to work because it's 99 degrees and 99% humidity half the time, right? So you got to have air conditioning in the car. You try fixing an air conditioner in a car that's made in the 80s, you just keep spending money, it keeps breaking, keeps going down. So I wouldn't buy it as a daily driver, but if he wants a fun toy to play with and learn how to fix things, hey, you can have fun with it if you can get it cheap enough, you know? But I would not use it as a daily driver. Jack997 says, I need advice on German cars. I want to buy a used German car from 2011 to 2015, BMW, Mercedes, Audi. Yeah, my recommendation is change the kind of car you want to buy. Those are all endless money pits. That's just how they are. They're endless money pits. The European cars, parts cost a fortune. The guys that work on them are crooks that are just going to screw you 7 ways a Sunday when it's time to get them repaired. That's just how those are. Let's say you just have to get a German car. See if you can find a Mercedes-Benz with low mileage that was made in Deutschland, that was made in Germany. Not one that was made some other place where they make them like crap, or South America. Don't buy one of those. If you can find a Mercedes that was made in Germany and is low mileage, I still wouldn't buy any of them. They're endless money pits as they age. You take Audi, Whatever you do, don't buy an Audi 2.0 turbo engine. They're the biggest piles of junk they ever made. BMW, they're in this money pits as they age too. So, but the same thing with BMW. If you're going to buy a BMW, make sure it was one made in Germany, not one that was made in the United States or Mexico, because the quality control there is even worse. Well, in the United States here, 90,000 BMWs are being recalled for, guess what? Exploding airbags. They say don't drive the things. And yes, again, it is the never-ending saga of Takata airbags. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is warning owners to park their BMWs because the airbags may explode. Now, if you own a BMW, hey, get your VIN number, go to the NHTSA.gov website. You can type in your VIN number, see if yours is covered. There's 90,000 of them out there. They're saying you shouldn't be driving. So they'll have to put new Takata airbags or whatever airbags in. I mean, it goes on forever, this Takata airbag thing. You wouldn't believe it if you didn't realize how many companies use them to build them, and they did such a crappy job, right? As the NHTSA says, and I quote, these vehicles have an extremely high probability of failure. The inflators rupture, the metal fragments ejected towards the driver's face could kill or leave him with devastating, life-altering injuries. So here we go. BMW and Takata airbags, not the greatest mix in the world, so get your VIN number. If you own one, type it in their website. It's all free, and they tell you whether you have an exploding airbag or not. Henry Martinez says, Scotty, is it safe to use Lube Guard instant shutter fix for my 2013 Lexus transmission to resolve converter chatter issues? You could try it. It's a very good additive. I've had people use it. Whether it's going to fix it or not, no one knows. It won't hurt anything. See, because the Lube Guard, that's a good company. And it's not like it's a quart of, 180 weight thick oil that might screw everything up. The viscosity is correct. So, give it a try. Maybe it'll help, It's not going to hurt anything. If it doesn't, then you got to have work done and start shelling out that money. But it's not going to hurt anything. It's a good product. The problem when you put real heavy weight stuff in, it can screw things up. You want to try to keep it with the viscosity of the fluid that's in it in the first place. Mr. Guru Little says, would you review a Mitsubishi Mirage? Well, sure, if you bring me one. Last year, a guy was coming from Joy to visit me with a brand new one. I thought, great, I can film one. He hit a deer and it destroyed the car. So it shows you they're not very well made. It totaled his entire car, ripped the front end of the car off. But if anybody's got one, hey, bring it. I'll review it. I was going to review his, but the deer destroyed it, so I didn't get to see it other than pictures of the deer running in and the whole front smashed in from it. So if anybody has one, feel free. I'll review it. I love reviewing cars to show people what's out there. I want to give an honest view of things to people. Is this good? Is this bad? I mean, hey, I'm not a Mitsubishi fan, right? But sometimes their cheap cars can last a decent period of time, especially with the manual transmission. So, somebody's got one, get a hold of me, bring it to me, I'll review it. Ferris Houston says, Scotty, what do you think about putting a turbo on a 4-cylinder Tacoma with 10 pounds of boost? We can do whatever you want. Those are solid engines. You're talking a 4-cylinder. They are solid engines. They could probably take it. But you're going to put a turbo on. Listen to me. Have a pro do it. Don't do it yourself. It has to be reprogrammed. And a lot of stuff has to change. Computer reprogrammed to accept. You can't just bolt the kit on and drive it. You're going to have problems. Realize that. If you're willing to spend the money, the engine should take it. But realize you want it done right or it won't run right. Marvin Aka says, Scotty, what do you think of an 04 Mitsubishi Montero? I'm not a fan because as they age, they fall apart and cost a fortune. I've had customers buy brand new ones and they like them. But they don't go 2, 3, 4, 500,000 miles like a Toyota 4Runner would. No way. Or like an Acura would. Some people like them, but they don't like them when they get high mileage and they start falling apart. The engines blow head gaskets, the transmissions burn out. If you're thinking about buying a used one, let me tell you one thing. You gotta find a guy like me. Check it out with a scan tool and road test to tell you the truth. I'm honest about it. I don't like them, but I don't care. People bring me German cars to check out to buy used, and I say, okay, here we go. And I'll show them the whole thing with a scan tool. Look at all these codes. And I'll say, now these don't really mean anything. So if you don't care about that, if you get a cheap enough price on this thing, then you really got to buy a German car. It's your money, not mine. I'm just showing you what's wrong with the car and what can go wrong with the car. So it might be in decent shape if it's low enough mileage. But don't overpay. They have no resale value. They're worth nothing used. Superman says, what's your choice of underrated car brand? A poor man's Honda or Toyota, cheap parts, good miles. I would think of Mazda. What do you think? I agree with you, but only the Mazda Miata sports car. They're fun. They last a long time. They get good gas mileage. And you get plenty of used ones, cheap enough, and they are. They can last a really long time. But get a manual transmission. Their automatic transmissions and the older ones stink. You'd want a manual. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.